What up, fam? Kevin here, back today, February 10th, as we journey through Exodus chapters 33 through 35. And once again, we meet Moses as the mediator, the one who stands in between God and his people, who's interceded on their behalf. He's averted the consuming wrath of God. And what we find in these chapters is him pressing deeper, even still, interceding more on the behalf of the people, that God would renew his presence with them, renew his covenant with them even. And there's so much in these chapters that are worthy of our attention. But let's drill down briefly on chapters 34, verses 5 and 8. Some believe that this is one of the most quoted passages in the Old Testament, meaning that what is said here when God tells us his name, it becomes a central language for the people of God throughout their history. They quote this, they sing this, they pray this. Jonah, in his letter, will even complain about this very thing when he complains to God. So notice that in verse number 5, the Lord descends in the cloud and he stands with Moses. And it says there that he proclaimed the name of the Lord. And this is a response to Moses' request earlier in chapter 33. There he asked God to show him his way. And there you have to pay attention because you'll read over this. But he says, show me your way that I may know you. Deeper still, in verse number 18 of chapter 33, Moses says, Lord, show me your glory. And so think about this for a moment. He's seen a lot since that burning bush in Exodus chapter 3. He's witnessed the mighty hand of God in these miraculous, powerful ways. He's witnessed the fierce wrath of God even. He has spoken with God as a man speaks with his friends. And so Moses has this relationship with Yahweh that we haven't seen in Scripture since probably Adam and Eve. And yet what he longs for here is a deeper, clearer understanding and acquaintance. So for all that Moses has seen of God and all that he's heard, it's only left him wanting more. And so in gracious response to Moses' request, God tells him his name. Verse 6, 7, 7 is one of the few places in Scripture where it's not somebody telling us about who God is. This is God himself saying, this is who I am. This is his self-revelation. So in a culture where the name speaks to the character of a person, God is not just telling Moses what to call him. God is saying, this is who I am, and this is the kind of God that I am. And so think through these thoughtfully today, the characteristics that he gives us here in verses 6 and 7. And think about this. He doesn't speak when he tells us who he is of his infinite knowledge or his infinite power or his omnipresence. What he does is he tells us about his character. God says, this is who I am at my core. This is who I will always be. And so notice where he begins. He begins with two words, merciful and gracious. And so to put something first in a list like this is to stress its importance. So what God is saying here is that my deepest essence, my most natural state, I am merciful and I'm gracious. That's who I am. So merciful is a feeling word and gracious is an action word. What it means is that God feels compassionately and God acts compassionately. And these two form the baseline of his character, and everything else flow out of this. This is who he is most fundamentally. He is also long-suffering and patient. Some versions will read slow to anger. It means that he does get angry, but it takes a lot of work to get him there. It is not his natural baseline state. It is not his default. Other writers speak of his anger as being his strange word. These verses also tell us that he abounds in goodness or kindness and truth or faithfulness. And so notice then the contrast in verse number 7 where he keeps mercy and forgives to thousands, but he visits only the third and fourth generations for their evil. And so this doesn't mean that God punishes other people for our sin. It just means that the consequences of our sin, as we know, often outlive us. So chew on this for a bit today. Let it nourish your soul. Know that today, wherever you are, whatever you're in, that this is who God is. This is who he says he is. This is who he has always been, and this is who he will always be. He is a God who feels compassionately towards you, and he is a God who will ever act compassionately toward you. Proverbs chapter 18, verse number 10 says this: the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. May the Lord hallow his name in our hearts today. Blessings, family.